welcome to Whiteland Restorations.
Oh man, she beat me to it. How's it going, guys?
Good. It's going good here, isn't it?
It's always good here.
It's always good. You may remember last week we did the raptoring underneath, inside and outside.
Yeah, sealing it up and rapturing it up because it needs doing.
For the job list.
For the job list.
This week we're going to be getting on with panel alignment.
Panel alignment and general body shaping. Now that's not just filling dents, that's a completely different thing.
It's a whole other thing.
It's a whole new kettle of fish.
It's one of my favourite things.
Yes.
I love sanding.
I like spreading peanut butter on my toast.
But you're going to need your little favourite hammer, aren't you?
Yeah. Going to need hammers, we're going to need pray things, we're going to have to do a lot of adjusting.
Luckily, it's only really the doors that you have to adjust on this.
It's 2 doors and a bonnet.
And a bonnet, that's it. Usually there's a lot more to it than that.
Yeah, normally there's 4 doors, a boot and a bonnet. And then sometimes there's other stuff as well.
Other things that you've got to bloody stick on.
Let's crack on. We've got to fit a door. I've already fitted one door, if you will come here. Succeed. It's also, there were some areas of corrosion in it, and it actually fitted in my sandblasting cabinet.
It's such a tiny door.
It's such a tiny door. It's the first door I've had in my sandblasting cabinet, so I managed to sandblast out the rust. But today we are fitting the door, which is already fitted. So
we're fitting the other door.
That fits.
Such a tiny little handle.
Yeah, it's very simple.
It's a very simple pin.
It's actually really nice because of how nice and simple it is. I've been panel aligning, so that's aligned.
Beautiful. You've been tweaking and tweaking.
I've been tweaking. It needs a little bit more down here. Yep. Not happy with it there. But we are getting there. I have to do a lot at the front because the gaps are extremely tight on this. I had not seen a car with gaps. This is like tighter than Honda door gaps. That's pretty tight. So yeah, it is a bit challenging to get them to line up perfectly. I had to do a bit of metal manipulation down here and bring that forwards a touch. So there's the other door.
Ready to go on.
Let's get it on.
Let's get it on.
Let's get it on. Such small doors. Very easy to fit by yourself. As you can see, there is plenty of adjustment in and out and for lining up, and these ones also adjust so you can get the door forwards and backwards. This is the in and out, that's the forwards and backwards, so that's great. We're going to go kind of all the way out to start with, just to see how it lines up, because we don't want to go all the way in straight away in case it hits something. Right, same as the other side. We've got slightly tight, that was very tight at the top here. But that's okay, it's too high at the back. So it could do with coming down this side in order to get that gap right, which means, because the in and out's okay, all the way out seems to have worked. A bit of a step to the sill. So yeah, we just got to drop it at the back. It's a huge gap at the bottom. So yeah, dropping it at the back, good idea. Let's do that. Which means slackening off these 2 screws. I think I will start with a big screwdriver just in case they are stuck. Let's see if this will loosen. The other side was very tight. Well, that's okay. Oh yeah, same one. Oh, there it goes. Whew. Right. And as you can see, that gives us up and down movement. Let's go all the way to there. See what that does. No, nearly. Nearly. Do it a little bit more. That sounds dry. Oh, pretty close. Pretty close. It has tightened up the gap down here and opened up the gap here because you've moved the door that way. It's just pulled everything down. So we need to move the whole door forwards a fraction. Oh no. Oh no. So we have a very, very stuck screw. Very stuck. It does not want to budge. I've been tapping it with a hammer and turning it, and it's very stuck. So I'm going to be using this gas-powered soldering iron to heat it up. This gives you a very specific heat zone right there. You can see that. So just going to be using that to heat up the screw, and that should do it without actually burning everything else. And hopefully loosen it up. Come on. Come on. You can do it. You know you can do it. Don't break off, please don't break off. Oh no. It didn't break off, but it rounded. To me.
To you. Where we spin, isn't it?
Yeah.
Doesn't make a difference. That's the bit where we chop the fingers off.
Oh, it's not so bad, he says.
Try that.
Oh, right, that was a bit of a kerfuffle, wasn't it, with the old bolts in here. We got there in the end. Rusty. What are we going to do about it? Also, you may notice the front is on. Massive thank you to Tim at Cambrian Classics and Ian from Hubnut coming over and giving me a helping hand late last night just to chuck that bonnet on and get it lined up. Thanks guys, you're the best. Back to the door. We have a nice gap here. I've been doing a lot of to and throwing with it. We've got a nice gap here. This is my handy gapping piece of plastic, handy for all sorts of reasons. But I've got it to fit in here, and it fits in the front, a little bit snug. It's very tight door gaps, but the bottom has a massive gap, twice as big as my gapping plastic. It's a little bit proud at the top, and I've done that because of this big taper here. To try and get a slightly better gap. Obviously if the door goes down, that line's gonna close up, you know. I'm kind of thinking, because this gap is so big, we're gonna have to lower and move the door forwards, which means we'll lose this gap, but this panel is a right mess anyway. So if we do that, down and forwards, and then grind away this shut line on this panel, and then re-weld it, it needs welding down here anyway because it's split. That's probably our win for this side. The other side, much closer, still gappy at the bottom, but I'll decide in a bit whether we have to do the same thing on the other side to try and get this gap nice. But for now, let's work our way to moving this door down and forwards and get that shut line back. So many hours of fettling later, and I mean many, these doors did not want to fit. I had to lower them, which meant this gap tightened up quite a lot. So we ended up knocking the quarter back ever so slightly, not too much to bulge it, but just enough to move that return back a tiny bit. And we ended up filing down each edge. The other side, the passenger side, was far worse. We ended up actually having to grind it all back and re-weld it because there just was not a gap. By the time you took up the bottom gap, which was massive, to drop the door down, we also had to roll the tops of the doors back up. So yeah, many hours. I had to put the camera down because who needs to see several days of bending metal? Well, I say several, it was a couple of days of hammering this poor thing into shape. But we got it pretty good. So we got very tidy gaps. They are very consistent, they are very even all around, all through the front as well. Thank you to Ian and Tim for coming and helping me get the front clip on. Brilliant work, guys. I'll be needing their help also to remove it when the time comes. Yeah, so once you get your gaps right, you've also got to work on the lining up of the rest of the actual shape of the car. This is where a nice long straight edge comes in. So you can see where everything lines up. And this side is really good anyway. It actually lines up extremely well. Very little filler, if anything, is going to be required in this side. All that work and all the filler work has been done on the other side, and we've gapped all the door nicely and the front nicely. So let's go and have a look at that. Here we are on the passenger side where all that work took place. As you can see, we've got a beautiful consistent gap through everything. Now, some of it required a tiny bit of filler, but what's a tiny bit of filler when you can get gaps that nice and that crisp? But all of this is just lining up beautifully. Dead straight. This is going to be such a nice little frog eye. So let's go back to the other side and go through step by step on how to achieve this. First thing, we need to decide where we're going to be putting filler, if we need any filler at all. There's no point in using filler if there is no need for it. Having said that, I don't mind a car with a bit of filler in it if it looks nice and crisp. Well applied filler can last for an extremely long time. Badly applied filler, well, that just is bad. So we're going to use a big ass straight edge and just check everything, every little gap, every little tiny little place where there could possibly be any bit of filler. Like for instance, just at the back edge of this door. The back edge of the doors are just rolling in slightly, just of here. And this is just rolling in slightly. We're talking such a small amount. This up here is slightly higher than there. So we're just going to put a tiny bit in there. So we're just going to put a tiny bit in the whole back of the door. It'll be very thin, but it will mean we get that lovely, perfectly flush edge. Same with the front edge. It's already nice at the top. So we just need to apply a tiny bit of filler down this edge here on the A-pillar there and sand it all smooth and carry it on through so the shape of the car carries right the way through to the front wheel arch. So from the back of the door right the way through the same curve all the way through to the front of the wheel arch. That's how you get a really straight looking car. Not by treating this panel as its own individual panel, because it is its own individual panel, but it belongs to this car, you know, it belongs here. It belongs to the shape of this frog eye. So that's what we need to make it look like it fits in. So I'm yakking on too much. Let's get a DA, key all this up and apply a tiny bit of filler. Just give it a nice little skim. Doesn't need a lot. Just down like that. Too much at the end here. Oh yeah, beautiful. I'm not too worried about putting the filler in the gap at the moment. I'll show you why in a second. Get yourself a bit of plastic that fits just in the door gap and drag it down through like that. This will remove all the filler from the door gaps and give you a nice consistent gap. Right, now that all of that is done, masking done, filler work done, panel gapping done, bending of metal to get panel gaps correct is done, all the welding is done, it's done. No, it's not. We've got to prime it and paint it. So this first session of primer we're going to do with all the body in situ, so it's all lined up still, everything's perfect still, and then we'll block it all down in situ again so it all lines up absolutely perfectly. And then we'll blow the car apart and then re-prime it everything. So we'll be priming it twice to get it just nice and crisp. Big thank you again to Independent Paint Supplies for supplying the primer. This is their own range of primer, so we'll be giving this a bloody good test. I'm excited to use it. The aerosols are certainly very good. So it's a 4:1 mix ratio. I'm going to be using a 2.5mm jet just because it's faster to use. Let's do it. Let's go. Mojo's going to be mixing the paint and I'm going to be throwing it on.